China stocks ended higher on Wednesday, driven by coal and resource firms as investors lapped up data that showed factory gate prices in May saw their fastest annual pace in more than 12 years. That's implying signs of steady global economic recovery. The country's factory gate prices rose in May at their fastest annual pace in over 12 years. That was driven by those surging commodity prices. China's state planner said on Wednesday it will step up monitoring of commodity prices and commodity market supervision to maintain order in the market. This as the United States Senate passed a sweeping package of legislation intended to boost the country's ability to compete with Chinese technology. The Hang Seng Index ended down 0.13%. China's main Shanghai Composite Index closed up 0.32%, and Japan's index down 0.3%. Let's go to Wall Street now, where Wall Street stocks struggled for closing gains on Tuesday as a lack of clear market catalyst kept institutional investors in a holding pattern, while retail traders kept the rally of so-called meme stocks alive. The Dow Jones Industrial Average falling 0.09%. The S&P 500 gained 0.02%, and the Nasdaq Composite added 0.31%. European stocks steadied near record highs on Wednesday, with investors holding off on taking big bets ahead of a policy decision from the European Central Bank and US inflation readings later this week. Let's take a look at those and other markets. Nessa Nair, who's the portfolio manager from Sasfin, joins me now. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News this afternoon. So we saw those GDP figures released yesterday. Market expectations were around 2.53%. We saw 4.6%. How did the markets react to that?
Yeah, Nzinga, it was, I think, a very welcome surprise, if I can say that. Not very good news that we've been having in the last few years regarding GDP, but this time around, I think the economy has shown exceptional resilience. We've bounced back, from a low. Remember, the 4.6 is actually an annualized number. The quarterly number was closer to 1.1%, but still, exceptionally positive. It shows that we do have the potential to recover. From the lockdown period we experienced last year, and we're just waiting for more and more company news to come out to substantiate that. We've also had in the last 2 weeks reports from our two big banks, Standard Bank and FirstRand, also pointing to much more economic activity experienced in the last quarter than what they'd experienced last year at this time during lockdown.
All right, we saw the RMB BCI coming out for the second quarter, jumping to 50 points. Just explain that to me, because it seems like there's quite an even split there. What's happening?
Yes, the technical term is a diffusion index. And what that means in layman's terms is the minute you hit 60, your economy is in expansion territory. In other words, you're experiencing positive growth in production. Now, this is not necessarily new news. The ABSA PMI numbers have, for the last few months, been in that expansionary territory above 50, again pointing to the fact that producers in the economy are a little bit more upbeat about the potential for future growth in the sense that they're seeing the economy growing in the foreseeable future. And I think it's largely due to those higher commodity prices you alluded to earlier on.
All right, Nessa, let's get into some company news. EOH announcing they've entered into a share purchase agreement to dispose of 100% of the issued ordinary shares of Cyprian Limited. What's happening there?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of these sort of deals taking place now. PPC as well disposing of they're holding in their aggregates business in Botswana. I think with what's happened last year, a lot of companies are focusing on their core businesses. A lot of them were impacted quite severely by COVID-19, and they were found wanting, specifically in relation to, cash balances that they needed in time of emergency. And so, as the sort of year progresses, we expect to see businesses, large businesses, listed businesses, trimming, subsidiary entities and keep on focusing on their core businesses and building up cash reserves, in the process.
Okay, we don't have a lot of time, so I wanted to just leave Thungela Resources and the like and go to America. Clover stocks jumping after they became a topic of discussion on those Reddit boards where they talk about stocks. What's happening there?
Yeah, Thungela Resources is an interesting one because remember, it's a coal producer in South Africa. And coal is not necessarily viewed by a lot of international investors, as it's not a very popular choice of investment because of environmental concerns naturally. So it didn't have a greatest first day of trading, but yesterday it picked up quite a lot. And I anticipate that it'll take about another 2 to 3 weeks, for it to sort of stabilize. So a lot of investors that are holding the stock that actually came out of Anglo American, I think would be a little bit careful, about selling in periods of extreme volatility. I think wait 2 or 3 weeks, until the sort of share price kind of stabilizes before looking to trade.
Okay, so speaking of volatility, I want us to go to America and I'll ask a 2-in-1. Those Clover stocks shooting up, I think 86% or 14% today as well, after being a topic of discussion on Reddit. And then also Bitcoin, again, dipping because of that FBI investigation and the recovery of some of those monies from that colonial ransom. Just take us through those two events.
Yeah, these are fascinating things. And, they have a saying, only in America, can a stock jump up 20% or 30% in one day as a result of, Redditors trying to manipulate markets, because that's really what it is. I would be very careful as an investor, specifically on those Clover stocks, as well as on Bitcoin. It's very difficult to actually understand what's driving this action, whether it's just temporary or whether it's transient. But certainly these stock price movements that we're seeing, this volatility that you mentioned, Zinga, is not driven by anything fundamental at the moment. So, you can trade in it, but it comes with a big health warning.
Okay. Thank you so much for your insight. Nesson Nair, Portfolio Manager at Sasfin, joining me there via Zoom. It's time for a short break. When we come back, we'll be speaking to Mike Schussler about another record-breaking event that's taking place in South Africa. Do stay with us on Point.